RAOs, I just want to go to a couple of questions in relation to RAOs. I know that RAOs have put in effect, an application with CASA to take over that responsibility for a range of operations in the recreational aviation space. That's correct, isn't it? Exposition, I think they call it.
They put an exposition forward. This is to become a self-administering organisation under Part 149. I think that's what you're referring to, Senator. It's been application been in for a while.
Okay, and now in effect, some responsibilities transfer from CASA to RAOs if and when you approve.
When they operate under Part 149.
Under Part 149. Firstly, I presume, therefore, noting the size of RAOs, that there's going to be a reduction in staff in CASA with a reduction in oversight in applications and a whole range of other things. Does the taxpayer get a benefit to this being contracted out, subcontracted out?
Not really, Senator. RAOs pretty much runs its own business at the moment. They operate under a set of rules. We're aware of them. We have a deed of agreement where we provide them a small amount of funding on an annual basis. And I would say that I probably have maybe one staff member that's one or 1.5 staff members who are looking after activities in and around that space. So I would see no significant saving. I would see a tightening up of the way they manage the sector that they're engaged in with regard to safety management systems and a general tightening up, I suppose, of the way they run their business. Okay, now in relation
to that Section 149 delegation, I guess you'd describe it, can you provide guidance on whether an authorisation holder can have their authorisation suspended or cancelled on the basis of a suspected breach of RAA's exposition?
Senator, I might have to take that on notice unless I have somebody who can answer the question. Do you?
I'll put it to you, there's general confusion.
We won't take it on notice, Senator. It's probably a bit technical.
Sure. Well, there's some general confusion in amongst industry. I'll ask this as well. How can, in a case of an accident, for example, or some incident under the rules with our investigation authorities, there's no self-incrimination. Is that the case in respect of RAOs?
I think RAOs, my understanding is RAOs investigates its own accidents at this stage, and HSB investigates them if they wish to.
Okay.
But I'm not sure of the applicability of the ATSB Act to RAOs.
Can we get some clarity around that, please?
Certainly.
Because there are people concerned that, in effect, now they're under a new regime where the ATSB standards no longer apply in respect of an investigation.
Could you just, could I just clarify? So you said that RAOs investigates its own accidents and ATSB investigates if it wishes to, is that what you said?
ATSB investigates if it wishes to. It doesn't always investigate RAOs accidents, no. That's my understanding.
Because I think that's right. My understanding is that they don't because they don't have the resources to.
Sure. Now, can a decision by RAOs be reviewable by the AAT? So my understanding is decisions made by CASA are decisions of an administrative nature which are subject to AAT review.
Yep.
What is the situation with RAAOs? If a decision is made by RAOs, can it be reviewed by the AAT? You've got counsel here who's itching to give an answer.
Just in terms of, before Dr Alec answers the question, I was just reminded that ATSB has conducted some RAOs investigations. So I won't say they pick and choose. It might be depending on the nature of the accident and the resources they have available. But they have investigated some RAOs accidents.
It doesn't sound ideal, does it?
Senator, it's a matter for the ATSB rather than for me, I'm afraid.
Senator Jonathan Alec, Executive Manager, Legal International and Regulatory Affairs. Under Part 149, if a person has within their authorizations suspended or varied by RARs, they can challenge that, and that decision can be referred to CASA, and CASA reviews that decision, and CASA's decision on that is reviewable in the AAT.
Okay.
Previously,
Yeah.
RARs members did not have that option. If they lost their authorization as a result of a decision of RARs, they had no recourse through the tribunals. They would have to go to court and claim some sort of unfairness of some sort.
Okay, so there is a pathway.
Absolutely.
In terms of an AAT review, a person effectively has a right to go to the AAT.
They will under 149, they did not before.
Yeah, sure. Under 149, you say they have a right to appeal or seek a review by the CASA,
That's right.
and then, of course, that flowing from that.
Either party, either RARs or the party who launched the review, can challenge CASA's decision in the AAT.
Can you on notice just direct me to where that regulation stems from?
Absolutely.
I don't expect you to do that
do it
now.
on notice. I don't have the regs in front of me.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but that would be helpful. I'm just saying there is some confusion in industry. Is a decision of CASA binding on RAOs?
In fact, yes. CASA has the authority to issue directions to RARs. They can give them directions to amend provisions in their exposition, and they can give them directions in relation to actions they've taken in respect of an aircraft or an individual. Those decisions are reviewable, as are most decisions CASA takes, but these are powers that CASA was not able to exercise before 149.
So you say this is an improvement? Well,
No.
in some respects, did RAOs have those authorisations prior, or do they come into effect prior to their exposition being accepted by CASA?
The RARs operates currently under an operations manual that governs their members. CASA approves those manuals, but those manuals are administered by RARs. Remarkably, the regime that's in effect under 149 introduces a considerably greater measure of regulatory oversight than existed previously.
And just, I know that Mr. Carmody took this on notice, but do you know whether or not a person subject to an RAOS investigation has the same rights in respect of ATSB investigations in relation to self-incrimination?
Well, as Mr. Carmody said, the ATSB's role is a matter for the ATSB. The relationship between RARs and their members in terms of admissions and disclosures that they make are matters under their exposition. Presumably, they have a safety management system of some sort and an exposition that involves what is commonly referred to as a kind of just culture regime. We're certainly expecting those kinds of arrangements for other operators. But where they are not yet in that place, that's a provision in 149.
Okay, so that exposition hasn't been accepted yet. So I just wonder if you would give some consideration to making sure there's an equitable situation for pilots in be they under the normal regime or under the RAOS regime. Okay, and just a final question. There's a media report out basically suggesting that RAOs are refusing to publish accident reports. Are you familiar with that that situation?
Senator, I'm afraid I'm not, Senator. I wasn't aware of that at all.
Okay, it might. It's only just out, so if you just haven't got your texts happening as quickly
Haven't
as
got
I
my phone
am.
with me, Senator.
Would you be concerned? Well, no, actually, I'll just say I would be concerned if there's not transparency in relation to accident investigations and reports. What is the current position in terms of legal requirements for openness and transparency in relation to RAOS accident reports?
Dr. Alec, to you.
Well, interestingly, prior to 149, there would have been no legal basis on which we could require them to publish an accident report. I cannot say that there is a provision in 149 that expressly calls for that, but it provides a regulatory framework within which, if CASA were to decide that that was something to be done, we would have the authority to require it.
I just say this in the context of all decisions, all reviews generally are better reviews or better decisions if the reviewer or the decision maker is required to articulate what they found and provide reasons for the decisions that they make, and that also makes it much better for appealing any particular decision, and perhaps if you could have a look at that and come back to the committee as to what the current situation is, what powers you have, and how you might intend to use any directions powers in relation to accident reports. So of course, the other thing too is, of course, accident reports make it better for other pilots who can look and see what happened and say, well, I won't do that, sort of thing, you know.
Senator, we will. In our overall messages, Part 149, we thought was a better arrangement, an improved arrangement for regulatory oversight of self-administering organisations. RALs, the Parachute Federation, is the first one to come in under Part 149. They've already done so, and hopefully RALs will be the second, and they're well advanced in their exposition.
Okay, I'm not contesting. It sounds like there are some things that are better. Just there hasn't been clarity in the industry, and I know that, as you know, a lot of people in the industry watch these proceedings. But I'd also be interested in your questions on that you've taken on notice. Thank you.